Hey, you guys. I just wanted to let every single Albertan know what is going on in Alberta right now, because if we ever needed to be aware of anything, it's going to be what is in this new Public Health Act, this is current as of July 29th, 2020. And I think if I show you this, is probably going to be, I don't think you're going to be able to see it. It's going to be reversed in the wrong way, but if you can see that, just so you can see what I've got in my hands. And this is a 74-page document from the province of Alberta. It's our Public Health Act, and because of COVID, this was redone. So if you go see the previous version, it looks very, very different because it doesn't have the same measures in it as it does since COVID came in. So if anybody's wondering why COVID came in, it's not about COVID, okay? It is about sweeping totalitarian measures. And what this document has in here, if it doesn't scare the living shit out of each and every one of you, then I don't even know. Maybe, I don't mean to be rude, but like, people would have to be literally brain dead if they read this and they weren't freaked out by what's in here. This is goes against human rights. This can't stand. There's got to be lawsuits. We've got to figure out how to get this overturned, because it cannot stand the way that it is, because literally our rights and freedoms have been already removed as of July 29th, 2020. So I'm just a mom. I don't know legalese. I don't know about this kind of stuff. All I know is that this is what our Public Health Act says, okay? You need to go print this out. I'll put a link down below where you go and get this, but this, you have to print it out. I've tried looking at it on my phone and it's way too it's very hard to read. It's so much better if you go print it out. It's like 74 pages long, and then you can go through it, and I've highlighted the key points. That's how I was able to kind of mentally really look at this thing and understand what it was saying, because I was trying to look at it on the phone, but I couldn't see what it was saying. So anyways, Albertans, okay, I've highlighted some things here. I need some help with this too. If you've read this, or if you're gonna read this, put some comments, because I don't even know how this shit gets passed, okay? Like, I don't know the laws. I don't know that kind of stuff, and I'm sure many of us don't, and that's where we're lacking. Things have gotten so convoluted and so complicated that it's hard for just regular people like myself to understand what the hell is going on provincially and federally. But okay, let me just get here, and again, it might be bouncing around a little bit. I'm gonna do the best that I can. I'm not gonna read this whole thing to you. It's 74 pages long, but I'm gonna read you the parts that are important. So okay, so one thing I don't know, and maybe somebody can put in the comments if you know the answer to this. Does this Public Health Act, is it just during a pandemic, or is it like any time, any day of the year? That's what I don't know. And it's going to be really important for all of us to know that, because what I'm about to tell you, I don't know if they can do this any day of the year or only under certain circumstances. That needs to be known, and I don't know the answer to that. Okay, so like I said, it's going to be, this is going to be not that cohesive, but I'm going to do the best that I can. So treatment and discovery and treatment of infection. Every person who knows or has reason to believe that the person is or may be infected with a communicable disease prescribed in the regulations for the purposes of this subsection shall immediately consult a physician to determine whether the person is infected or not, and if the person is found to be infected, shall submit to the treatment directed and comply with any other conditions prescribed by the physician until the physician is satisfied that the person is not infectious. Totalitarianism, step 1. Isolation, quarantine, and special measures. Isolation and quarantine. Okay, I'm going to read this. This is going to be a little bit of a long video, but it is what it is. So, isolation and quarantine. A medical officer of health who knows of or has reason to suspect the existence of a communicable disease or a public health emergency within the boundaries of the health region in which the medical officer of health has jurisdiction, may initiate an investigation to determine whether any action is necessary to protect the public health. Where the investigation confirms the presence of a communicable disease, the medical officer of health shall carry out the measures that the medical officer of health is required by this act and regulations to carry out, and may do any or all of the following. Pay attention. Take whatever steps the medical officer of health considers necessary. What? How do I know what they're going to consider necessary? That's a bit broad, don't you think? Take whatever, okay, I already said that, to take whatever steps necessary to suppress the disease in those who may already have been affected with it. B, to protect those who have not already been exposed to the disease. C, to break the chain of transmission and prevent spread of the disease. And D, to remove the source of infection. By order, A, prohibit a person from attending school. B, prohibit a person from engaging in the person's occupation. Or C, prohibit a person from having contact with other persons or any class of persons for any period and subject to any conditions that the medical officer of health considers appropriate, where the medical officer of health determines that the persons engaging in that activity could transmit an infectious agent. Let's continue here, okay? You got to read this whole thing. I'm only reading bits and pieces of it. You have to go read the whole thing yourself. You need to print this out and read it. Everybody in Alberta needs to print this out and read it now. If you go to, if you Google, you can Google Public Health Act of Alberta, and it should bring up the website. Actually, the website is www.qp.alberta.ca. This is the Public Health Act from the province of Alberta. Okay, the jurisdiction of a medical officer of health extends to any person who is known or suspected to be, remember that word, suspected to be infected with a communicable disease, illness, or health condition, a carrier, a contact, susceptible to and at risk of contact with a communicable disease, illness, or health condition, or exposed to a chemical agent or radioactive material, whether or not that person resides within the boundaries of the health region. Okay, it says entry for examination, where a medical officer of health knows or has reason to believe that a person suffering from a communicable disease referred to in Section 20 may be found in any place, or B, that any place may be contaminated with such a communicable disease, the medical officer of health may enter that place, your home, without a warrant, for the purpose of conducting an examination to determine the existence of the communicable disease. Did you hear that? The medical officer of health may enter that place without a warrant for the purpose of conducting an examination to determine the existence of the communicable disease. Now listen intently. Where a medical officer of health is conducting an examination pursuant to subsection 1, the medical officer of health may, A, order the detention of any person. Let me repeat that. The medical officer has sweeping authority to order the detention of any person, and B, order the closure of the place, including any business that is carried on in it. Let's move on. Examination. Where a medical officer or of health knows or has reason to believe that a person may be infected with a communicable disease referred to in Section 20, that person shall, at the request of the medical officer of health, submit to any examinations necessary. What examinations? To any examinations necessary. Hello? No, I'm not submitting to any examinations necessary. That goes against human rights. Thank you very much. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Excuse my language. To determine whether the person is infected with the disease. Can you see why COVID was a front? It was a front for literal totalitarianism. Any regime that can pull you and your children from your home means we no longer live in a free society. This is not about COVID, okay? All right, I'm getting a little bit heated. Emotions down. Let's just keep reading. Okay, in conducting an examination pursuant to subsection 1 to determine the existence of a communicable disease, the medical officer of health may require from any person who has knowledge of it the production of any information concerning the disease, including the sources or suspected sources of the disease and the names and addresses of any persons who may have been exposed or become infected with the disease. So again, here's your it's like the contact tracing. So anybody, this is anybody. If these people ask who these people have been around, guess whose door they're coming to knock on next? Yours, Albertans. Your door. Okay? Notices. A medical officer of health may cause to be placed warning notices in the prescribed form in, on, or at near any place in which a person is isolated or quarantined, or which requires decontamination or destruction. No person shall remove a warning notice placed in accordance with this section unless the person has the consent of a medical officer. So obviously they will be placing a notice on your home or wherever they get you from, a business or wherever they're coming to snatch you from against your will, that this place has somebody who has a communicable disease, and there'll be a notice there. Next, effective isolation or quarantine. Okay, isolation or quarantine. Okay, listen hard. Where a person infected with a communicable disease requires isolation or quarantine as prescribed in the regulations, the person shall be isolated or quarantined in a hospital or other place approved for the purpose by a medical officer of health. What place? Where are they going to be taking us? They can take you to a hospital or other place approved for the purpose. What this means is that our government of Alberta, whoever the medical officer of health is, can come to your home, examine you in whatever way they see fit, take you from your home, and they're going to, and if you test positive for a communicable disease, it just says communicable disease. Who knows what's under that umbrella? They can then take you to a quarantine facility. We don't know where that is. We don't know what that is. What do they mean, quarantine facility? Let's keep going. No person who is suffering from a communicable disease for which isolation or quarantine is required under the regulations shall remain or be permitted to remain in any public place other than a hospital or other place approved under subsection. You will be only allowed in a quarantine facility. This is scary, Lin. Thank you for watching, and Shelley, thank you for watching. This is Alberta, Canada. This is really scary. This is our Public Health Act as of July 29th, 2020. And every single Albertan needs to be aware of this. I don't know what we can do about it because I don't know the law. I don't know how this stuff works. It just starts with awareness first. We all have to be aware. Hi, Dwight. Haven't seen you since high school. How are you doing? So I'm just reading from our new Public Health Act, and it's really it's frightening to say the least. Okay, let's keep going. For the purpose of this section, person infected with a communicable disease referred to in subsection 1 and a person who is suffering from a communicable disease referred to in subsection 2 include the following persons. Listen to this, you guys. This is scary. A person entering Alberta after having traveled internationally, a close contact of a person who is confirmed as having COVID. Wait. A person exhibiting any of the following symptoms. that are not related to the person's pre-existing illness or health condition. Cough, fever, shortness of breath, runny nose, and sore throat. So I hope you're all putting that together. So if somebody reports you, or because people are going to be reporting people, okay? If you have a cough, fever, shortness of breath, runny nose, sore throat, you could have the health authorities knocking on your door, testing you in your home without your permission and authority to do so, take you from your home, and put you in a quarantine facility. Now, I don't know, it doesn't say anything about children in here. This is why I am on this video, and this is why I'm fighting. If it was just me, I don't care. You can take me, you can kill me. I don't give a shit. But I have children, and I need to know, and if somebody knows who's watching this, what this Health Act means regarding our children, we need to know this, because it's very unclear to me here if they can literally come into our homes and take our children. Okay? This is really fucking freaky. So let's keep going. I've just highlighted some areas. You guys have to download this and read it all yourselves. So Epidemics, it says, when a notification of epidemic, when a medical officer of health is of the opinion that a communicable disease is in epidemic form and hospital facilities within the area are inadequate to provide the necessary isolation or quarantine facilities, the medical officer of health shall immediately inform the minister on the recommendation of the minister, the lieutenant governor and council may over a board of an approved hospital may order a board of an approved hospital as defined in the Hospital Acts to provide isolation or quarantine accommodation in the amount and manner prescribed in the order, and may order the owner of a facility to provide isolation or quarantine accommodation in the amount and manner prescribed in the order. So that means they have the sweeping authority to go in and, you know, get some business owner of some sort of facility to open their facility to become a quarantine facility for people who have a communicable disease. And they don't say exactly what diseases are under this umbrella. What else did I highlight here? So there's something called an authority of certificate. So this is important. Everybody has to go read this. A certificate of authority for any peace office. Okay. I'm probably missing something here. I tried to lay this all out so that it would make sense. So basically, a certificate of authority can be given to somebody. I would assume, from what I've sort of read in here and what I kind of understand, that a certificate of authority can be given to somebody by a peace officer. So let's say somebody says, I'm not going with you. For any peace officer to apprehend the person. So you're going to be, I believe what it is you're going to be given a certificate. You're going to be issued a certificate to be detained, or whatever the hell this is. The officer writes out a certificate for detainment, is what I'm understanding. For any peace officer to apprehend the person named on it and convey the person to any facility specified by the medical health officer who issued the certificate within 7 days from the date the certificate is issued. For a physician to perform any test or a physical examination required to determine whether that person has a communicable disease, and to detain that person at the facility for the period required to obtain the result of the examination. For any physician to treat, listen up, open your ears real wide, for any physician to treat or prescribe treatment for that person in order to render that person non-infectious, with or without the consent of the person. Let me read that again. For any physician to treat or prescribe treatment for that person in order to render that person non-infectious, with or without the consent of that person, and to detain the person for that purpose, and for a physician to prescribe any, or for a physician to prescribe any other conditions necessary to mitigate the disease or limit its spread to others. So this is just sweeping, totalitarian, type stuff over the health of every single Albertan, including our children. Let me just carry on and see what other kind of stuff I have here. You're sort of putting the picture together if you've been watching from the beginning, okay? And again, I'm reading this sporadically. I've highlighted some points. You have to go to the website I said at the beginning. I'll put it in the description somewhere when I actually go and post this, the website where you can download this. So treatment after release. Where a person is released pursuant to section whatever, the person shall comply with the treatment and any other conditions that are prescribed by any physician assigned by the medical director of the facility. So if you are against forced vaccinations, you best be on top of this act, and you best be understanding it and reading it and downloading it. Because they are saying that person shall comply with the treatment and any other conditions that are prescribed by any physician assigned by the medical director of the facility. Where a person who has been required to submit to treatment or comply with conditions following the person's release fails to undergo treatment or comply with the conditions, a medical officer of health may issue an order in the prescribed form to a peace officer or other persons to apprehend that person and return that person to the facility. Need I say more? Okay, I'm going to read a little bit more. I think you guys are getting the picture of what COVID, really was for. And then I'm gonna stop this video because it's going on pretty long. But isolation order, where one physician supported by a laboratory report demonstrating evidence of an infectious agent certifies, or two physicians certify that a person is infected with an organism that produces a disease prescribed in the regulations for the purposes of this section, and that the person refuses or neglects to submit to medical, surgical, or other remedial treatments. Now they want to do surgery on us? For what? The flu? Okay, this is scary, you guys. To comply, to submit to medical, surgical, or other remedial treatment, or to comply with any other conditions. Whatever those conditions are, I don't know, it doesn't say. They have been prescribed by a physician as being necessary to mitigate that disease or to limit its spread to others. Here's your forced vaccinations, people. You're going to be pulled from your home, taken from your families. I don't know if children are going to be taken from their families because I don't know how to read legalese. So somebody please let me know if they're talking about children in here too, and they're going to be forced vaccinated. It doesn't say that. It doesn't say forced vaccination. It says to submit to medical, surgical, or other remedial treatment, to comply with any other conditions that have been prescribed by a physician as being necessary to mitigate that disease or to limit its spread to others. The physician or physicians shall each issue an isolation order in the prescribed form. And then it goes on to say that. There's other stuff here. Everybody has to look at this. Okay, so there's lots more. You guys have to go read this yourself because I think everybody kind of gets the picture here. But again, this is the Public Health Act of Alberta as of July 29th, 2020. If you want to go download this 74-page document, you can go to www.qp.alberta.ca. And like I said at the beginning, I've tried to look at this on my phone. It's really a difficult document to read on your phone. You really have to go print it out and then get a highlighter, and I highlighted everything here. So please, if you have any other information on this, especially about children, if they can take your children from your home and put them in quarantine facilities and force vaccinate them, I need to know that. We all need to know this. That's it for today. Thank you for watching, and please share this video. Share it with every Albertan. Share, share, share. Thank you.